Representative Mario, Chairman of the District Committees, Training Committee, our District Trainer, fellow Rotarians, Rotaractors, Interactors. What a wonderful session we're going to have this evening. I am so happy that we have a joint session with all three members of our Rotary family together so that we can hear and understand what the pitfalls are, what the great things are. I know that we're going to have a wonderful evening. Our Rotaractors are rearing and ready to go. Our interactors have been messaging all week to try and understand, what their role is in this. So thank you, District Training Committee, for putting this together. And I look forward to an awesome evening. And I feel that everyone here, all 125 of you already, are in for a treat. So thank you so much for sharing your evenings with us. And I look forward to a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DG Sonia. So this evening we'll have three powerhouse presenters. I say powerhouse, and you will agree with me when you heard their bios. The first presenter is our District Interact Chair, Rotarian Soraya Warner-Gustave. She joined the Rotary Club of St. Lucia in 2010 and has served in many roles, including Club Service Director, Secretary, and President. At the district level, Soraya is a past district secretary, having served as district secretary during the last Rotary year on the IPDG Lyle. She's a Paul Harris Fellow and, of course, the current District Interact Chair. Professionally, Soraya is a retired corporate banker and has been in the banking industry for over 35 years. Our second presenter has Rotary in her heart. Rotarian Giselle has a genuine passion for youth empowerment and community service, which was founded during her 10 years as a Rotaractor in the Rotary Club of Port of Spain West. She served in many positions during this time, with her last years in Rotaract spent as the 2015-2016 District Rotaract Representative for our district and the Rotaract Co-Chair for the first joint Rotary-Rotaract Conference in Trinidad in 2017. For her passion and dedication to service, Giselle was awarded the prestigious honor of Paul Harris Fellow by past District Governor Milton Innes in April 2016. Now a Rotarian with the Rotary Club of Marval, Giselle has served in several areas on the board, including President, Secretary, Club Admin Chair, Fundraising Chair, and currently serves as the club trainer while supporting her president and club as the IPP. Giselle professionally is a facility manager at, well, I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Acuitas Caribbean Limited, and was appointed Director of Facilities Management in 2018. She's a graduate from the Rochester Institute of Technology and has a Master of Science in Facilities Management and a BSc in Electrical and Computer Engineering in 2008 from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus. As the District Rotaract Chair for the second year, Giselle continues to look forward to the ways in which she can celebrate our wonderful Rotaractors and all that they do. Our final presenter is our District Rotaract Chair, Mario Boyce. He is also passionate about community service and professional development, and he has channeled those passions through his work with the Rotaract Club of Barbados, which he joined in 2016. He has held several positions at the local level within his club, ranging from VP to President, IPP, and most recently, Membership Chair. His work with Rotaract has led him to represent his club and his country throughout the region in St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and at many district events such as RILA, DLT, and most recently, the Joint District Rotary-Rotaract Conference. Mario raised his club's profile both regionally and internationally through dedication, passion, and sound leadership. He believes in tapping into the strengths of his team and developing others to their full potential. For his passion and dedication, his club recognized him and awarded him Rotaractor of the Year in 2016-2017, and then he was selected as the co-chair for RILA on a local level in Barbados during World Rotaract Week in 2018. He's 29 years of age, and he specializes in sales, consulting, marketing, client management, and operations, predominantly in the hospitality, tourism, automotive industries, and in the retail sector in Barbados. Aside from Rotaract and work, Mario is currently pursuing his bachelor's in management at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus. So you can see from these short bios that I was not kidding when I said these are three powerhouses who are going to present to us this evening. So without further ado, I would like to hand you over to Rotarian Giselle. Giselle, take it away.
Thank you very much, District Trainer Luana, and good evening again, everyone. As Luana mentioned, three of us will be walking through this evening's session, right, which we hope to be very interactive at the end of the day, and hopefully an opportunity for both of us, right, in terms of both parties, to learn and to grow more. So we're doing something a little bit different tonight. For those who are English speaking, you're looking to one side of the screen. And for those who are French speaking, you'll be looking to the other side of the screen, okay? But we'll make it work, don't worry. Okay, so pressing right ahead, our session, of course, is focused on mentoring Rotaract and Interact, and from the perspective Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact. So at this point, I hand you over to our DRR, Mario, who would jump into the next slide. And Mario, I'm sure you can do the English part.
I definitely can. Hi, good evening, everyone. So we're just going to break down the District Rotaract Committee for you. We are led by our fearless leader, District Governor Mrs. Sonia Alain. The co-chairs are DRC Giselle and myself. Along with, we have also DGE, Leslie Ramdani, DGN, Brian Glaslow, AG, Julian Skeet, the RRE, Justin Schwelt, the RRN, Christina Bassoon, as well as past District Rotaract representative as no Rotarian, Everett Jean-Marie, and Rotarian Silandel Glenn. So I'm now going to hand over for the introduction of the District Interact Committee.
Sorry, you need to unmute.
Soraya, please unmute.
Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege and an honor to be here this evening. And on behalf of the District Interact Committee, I would like to thank the District Training Committee and DRC Giselle for extending this invitation. So apart from yours truly, the District Interact Committee is made up of Rotarians from across the district, who are all, of course, passionate about youth and passionate about advancing the Interact program. So we have PP Dina, PP Nada, Rotarian Nisha, and Rotarian Imtiaz from Trinidad, past Satellite Club Chair Samala from St. Lucia, Rotarian Sharon is from Suriname, and last but not least, Rotarian Wahida from Guyana. Thank you.
Okay, guys, just a brief breakdown of the Rotaract clubs across District 7030. So we have a very unique mix and blend of clubs across 17 territories and countries. So we have Antigua with 1 club, Aruba with 1, Barbados has 4, Curacao has 1, Dominica has 1, Grenada has 2, Guadeloupe 2, Guyana 6, Martinique 1, Montserrat 1, St. Lucia 3, St. Kitts 1, Nevis 1, St. Vincent 1, Suriname has 3, Trinidad has 18, and French Guiana with 1 club. So you can see that there is a very large mix of clubs across the countries and territories. We speak officially 3 languages, which are French, English, and Papiamento. Sorry, over to you.
Thank you. So as per the Interact statistics, we are at 67 clubs and I've actually been in that range for several years. 67 clubs across 15 territories and across 37 Rotary clubs. With 74 clubs in District 7030, you'll agree that there's still much room for growth. So inserting an appeal here for Rotary clubs who've not yet sponsored to consider doing so this year. Our fun fact picks up the oldest chartered Interact club according to Rotary International. And just a quick advert here as well. We, the District Interact Committee, would love to do a feature story in our Interact District newsletter on Union Claxton Bay Senior. So if there are any sponsor club or Interact representatives here this evening, please reach out to me or one of our committee members. Thank you. Over to you, DRR.
Thank you. All right, so we're here to talk now about the changing role of Rotaract. Out of the elevated Rotaract enactment that was passed in 2018, 2019, and started executing the last Rotary year, District 7030 has done a lot to push forward the evolution of Rotaractors and Rotaract clubs. We would have seen, most notably last year, we would have done several infomercial videos talking about the roles of Rotaractors on the Rotary district committees, and we're looking to continue that work and push it even further this year. We're also looking to increase the transitionary rate of Rotaractors. So that is Rotaractors going towards Rotary clubs. Currently, the Rotary clubs play a very substantial role with the Rotaract clubs, and that is something that has always been done very well across District 7030. Everywhere you look, you can hear Rotaractors talking about the guiding role and the mentorship they've received from their Rotarians and their Rotaract clubs. So here on the screen, you can see some of the keywords that came out of, that describe the role, sorry, that Rotary plays with Rotaract clubs.
Yes, and just to add, the idea is, as Mario said, that the majority of our Rotary sponsor clubs do play that, what I would call the ideal role, right? However, we do have some Rotary clubs, because of the change in Rotaract status, where they're very uncertain. They're not quite sure if they need to maintain a relationship, because I guess it was very clear before in terms of that sort of supportive, that sponsorship. So it's almost like it's hands off, or you have them sometimes with the big stick, right? They're keeping the Rotaract club in check because they know they're supposed to be doing certain things by certain times, and maybe that's the only time they jump in. So thankfully for our district, the heavier weighting is with that ideal in terms of the supportive, you know, the curious, asking questions, trying to understand. But we do still have some clubs where there is a disconnect between the Rotaract and the Rotary club.
So it's back to Interact. Thank you, DRR Mario. So at this juncture, we would like to share some thoughts on the relationship between Rotary and Interact, and more specifically, the expectations of RI. And these thoughts might serve as a reminder to most persons. So at the outset, the relationship between Rotary and Interact is expected to be a nurturing and protective one. We say here that Rotary is Interact's lifeline, simply because Interact is a Rotary program, first and foremost, with Rotary's ideals and Rotary's values at the core. So that if these relationships are well nurtured, and if we can effectively close the gaps that exist, then we may well have an easy answer for sustained Rotary growth. Rotary clubs who take on the role of a sponsor club must be prepared to mentor, to guide, to facilitate, to protect, to connect, to coach, to empower, and to give a voice to our young Interact members. Because how else do we unlock the full potential of the next generation of Rotarians? How else do we improve the Interact program overall to benefit the Interactors, the beneficiaries, and to encourage this lifelong interest in Rotary? We know that when young people feel empowered, they take action to make positive impact in their communities and the world at large. So we believe that it starts with mentoring and all these positive action-oriented elements that I mentioned earlier, and on the slide, roll up into a mentoring relationship, which is absolutely vital between sponsor Rotary clubs and Interact clubs. Rotary International refers to most of these expectations in their sponsor guide and states further that an Interact club depends upon the active personal participation of its sponsor club. Not sure if members here present are aware, but the Interact Constitution and bylaws also calls for Rotary's presence at an Interact board or club meeting. Our review suggests that this may not necessarily be happening or happening consistently across clubs, and so our interactors may not be benefiting sufficiently from what should be a rich Rotary experience. The power of mentorship on a consistent and sustained basis cannot be overstated. And so this evening, we spend a bit of time on what mentoring looks like in this particular partnership, as we are mentoring for individual success, we are mentoring to instill a passion for service, and we are mentoring to develop ethical leadership. We recognize that in the school-based clubs, this mentoring relationship is shared between the school advisor and the Rotary advisor. And we fully support this, as school advisors are in most cases our Interact champions. But we encourage a Rotary-focused mentoring relationship. We acknowledge that the future of Rotary is in our youth, and so we must commit to continuously review our relationships with our Interact clubs to ensure that we as Rotarians are continuing to meet all expectations and perhaps more importantly, the evolving needs of our interactors. RI has recognized this, and I'm excited to mention here, I'm sure most of you are already aware of that, of RI's introduction of an Interact Advisory Council with a vision to elevate the voice of Interact, to create greater collaboration and improve relationships between Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact, and simply to be better informed about their interests, needs, and expectations. So Interact at the international level is on the move, and happy to say that the 70/30 Interact is on the move as well. I will expand a bit more on mentoring and mentorship opportunities later in the program. Thank you.
So as Soraya mentioned, the core of what we're here for today is talk about mentorship opportunities. But you'd notice that we use the word co-mentorship because the idea is that it's not a one-way street, right? We recognize that there are opportunities, new skills, new lessons to be learned from both sides. So whether it's Rotary with Rotaract, Rotaract with Interact, Rotary with Interact, or any combination of the two, there is the arrows are going both ways, meaning there's shared information, shared opportunities that are able to positively impact all the parties. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. And yes, the French is a little behind on this side, but we're going to catch up. There we go. Okay. In terms of guidance, right? So we're talking Rotary and Rotaract co-mentorship. So it's very obvious to say that, of course, from the Rotary sponsor club side for Rotaract, our Rotarians bring that wealth of Rotary knowledge, right? They know about the foundation, they know about membership and all these lovely things that Rotaract has literally just been introduced to. So it's a very real opportunity for our Rotaractors to learn directly from our Rotarians. Moving on a bit, in terms of technology enhancements, 2020 into 2021 has showed us that we are very dependent on technology, and who better rather to learn from than a Rotaractor, who's able to share, who's able to pinpoint the many different ways in which we could grow, in which we could learn, in which we could do presentations, right? A very real example is the upcoming RILA DG Sonia invited Rotaract to give input for the Rotaract Riler that will be had. And off the bat, the Rotaractors lead ADRR Rollins, so he was one of them to say, well, we should be using, you know, Mentimeter and some other apps he kept calling. And I'm like, what are these things? But it's all things to help make sessions more interactive. You know, you feel like you're there, you're able to get real-time feedback. And, you know, that's exciting. And it's also something, you know, the average Rotarian, myself included, we don't know. And so it's a great opportunity for us. And of course, we have transitioning, where we do need to encourage growth in our Rotary family. And so part of the direct reason the age limit for Rotaract was removed was that so we don't have Rotaractors feeling that they need to leave at age 30. It's a very traumatic thing, let me tell you. Mario didn't reach 30 years yet, but it's traumatic, right? When you found out you needed to leave Rotaract, you know, this thing you've been in for so long. So it's really something to celebrate. It's really something to celebrate that they get to be in our organization. And trust me, there's no fear of a Rotaractor remaining in Rotaract forever. They will transition because you do reach a point where you're just like, you know, we've done this well, let's move on. And that's why we want to ensure that that relationship between the Rotary and Rotaract Club remains, you know, very close, and this partnership, so that when that opportunity comes up, it's a smooth transition into the Rotary Club. Over to you, Mario.
Thank you. So continuing on, we're talking about succession planning. And with succession planning, we should always talk about leadership and training. So Rotary clubs across District 7030 do a very wonderful job of putting on training on an individual level for Rotaractors in order to teach them how to lead their clubs and continue the development of that club. They plan for the future and they effectively execute by selecting Rotaractors who are leaders and taking them to, well, encouraging them, sorry, to attend programs such as RILA, as mentioned by Giselle earlier. There's also local programs that they put on, and they even support Rotaractors attending Rotaract District Conference so they can have a wealth of knowledge of all the information that they're going to need to progress on to be leaders of the club. They also use something on the Rotary side, which is the Rotary Learning Center, to support and reinforce all the training that is going on there. For the best practices, Rotaractors also learn a lot from talking to each other and talking to their Rotary partners. The Rotary clubs tend to support and guide them as what is the best thing to do in which to handle situations that may come about from your day-to-day experiences with Rotaract clubs. And Rotaract clubs also help each other. That is where the mentorship comes in, not just from, forgive the phrase, but a top-down side of it, but a side-by-side aspect of it, because you can have a mentor at your level as well. Someone, you may not know everything. I mean, no one knows everything, but you can get information from someone else. Use that information and create the best practice as it relates to your club. Best practices are best laid when they relate to your club especially. For membership, one of the things that Rotary has given us the go ahead and the challenge of is increasing our membership. And we have been successfully doing that going forward as Rotaract clubs. And we have been learning from our Rotarians as what's the best things to do. We've looked at identifying key components that make up a great Rotaractor or a great potential member for Rotaract, and having a firm guideline in place as to what membership is, what it's supposed to be, and following that along the lines. That's been one of the best things ever to control membership within Rotaract clubs and have it growing further than we've ever expected. Currently, the membership growth in District 7030 has been fantastic, and using these membership guidelines that we've ironed out, it should continue to grow even further. And we're going to keep doing that by partnering with and learning from our Rotarians, our Rotaractors, and even our interactors. Because as Giselle alluded to, we always learn from the new generation coming up under us. It's not that we always have things to teach them. They have a wealth of knowledge to teach us as well. Trust and believe it's very important to listen to them, and that will keep our organization and our clubs going stronger forever. Lastly, recruitment. Recruitment goes hand in hand with technology enhancements, and I know the DD is going to love this. by doing what we do, being ourselves, and just highlighting it on our social media, we can tend to recruit a lot of persons and the right type of persons. Using your social media platform as a recruitment tool is one of the best things you can do. Your social media platform helps to let persons know who you are, what you're about, solidifies your brand, and it helps you to attract new members and gain the access to persons looking to ingrain themselves in that service mentality. So if you're doing anything that you're looking to recruit new members, if you're doing regular projects, post on social media, tag the district pages, tag the other Rotaract clubs, and piggyback on their social media networks and the algorithms going on there, and highlight what you do and your unique club to everyone, and you will have an incredible recruitment drive.
Absolutely. So moving right along to joint committees, and I would hope that no one is hearing this for the first time, because we did the pilot last year with PDG Lyle, where we actually saw on a district level, for the first time, we had intentional merging of district committees on the Rotaract side and the Rotary side, where Rotaractors who performed the role, for example, you had a district Rotaract trainer, they would have automatically been on Luana's team. So that's the intention, right? So you complement. And the idea is that we really want to see this throughout. So we're talking events, we're talking the opportunity to partner and plan when it comes to what we do best, community service projects, brainstorming sessions, just that opportunity to listen and to share ideas, and it will result in even better ones. Those are the sort of very priceless and really simple ways in which we could get better engagement from both our Rotaractors and Rotarians, and recognizing them as Yara Mario said, Rotaractors represent also experts in their field. You know, I am always blown away. For example, I'm dropping names tonight, right? Your name gonna get called. So I am always blown away every time Shem, who is the district communication PR magical person for Rotaract, anytime Shem touches any sort of document or any sort of social media post, it is like magic, right? It is his gift. And somebody like that, I'm like, you just need to pin him. just make him a Rotarian one time. But the point is, we don't even have to. We have him as a resource, you know, because of course he's willing to help at any time. And those are the sort of opportunities we have with the promotion and at least making it normal to do things jointly. Because trust me, I don't ever want to think about creating a flyer again if I have someone like Shem, someone like Kareem, you know, just able to do things so effortlessly and so well. And we have it all through our district. And it's that innovation that is the last thing there that they are able to bring to the table, married with our Rotarian expertise, because we're bringing that too. Maybe not in the graphics, but we're bringing it for other things, you know, in terms of maybe speakers, maybe networks, you know, who we could get in the room to help make it happen. And that is very powerful because we need both, right? We need a complementary engagement. And that is really what's going to get us to that next level of being, or continuing rather, to be a district that's on fire, right? Back to you, Mario.
Thank you, Giselle. So let's get into professional development, guys. Professional development is one of the best areas and the easiest area in which we can examine co-mentorship opportunities. With the Rotary side, we have classifications and the classification talks that you guys do at Rotary clubs. And I've sat through a ton of them, so I know when I go to a Rotary club and I hear a classification talk, I personally always pick up a speaker for some Rotaract event to see this person is a classified lawyer, a classified customer service representative, marketing guru. These are things that you can use. Using your skills, you can come and speak to Rotaractors and interactors, and you can help them develop on the career path. You can help them along the way. You can help them put on a great professional development session for their community at large and help some other person that's connected to the Rotaract and Interact network. It's very fantastic to see that we can pull on each other, utilizing something that's ingrained in Rotary to help the Rotary clubs, the Rotaract clubs, and our communities at large, not forgetting the Interact clubs as well. There's a lot of material and a wealth of knowledge to pull on by utilizing our network. I've always said, thanks to a good friend of mine, your network is your net worth. So we must utilize our network within Rotary and Rotaract and Interact to help each other and keep that wheel turning. You can also learn life skills through professional development. So although you may have someone whose classification is talking about themselves as a lawyer, but they may be PADI certified under first aid. That's something that we can pass on through the generations in Rotary and Rotaract and keep that skill moving and save persons from a natural disaster, from a car accident, something that we can learn that can help make our lives and the lives of those around us even better. Through professional development, there is a wealth of knowledge to share within the club and within our communities as well. Additionally, there's always the, if I would like to say, the obvious one of career guidance and job opportunities. Somebody always knows somebody who has some skill who can fill in a role that we know. We always know of persons who we would like, and within the Rotaract, Interact, and Rotary sphere, we would know that these persons carry a certain pedigree. By being a fully active, pinned member in the clubs, we know that these persons are, not to sound braggy, but they're cut differently. They're a notch above the rest because they are the active members that we've seen them, and we've seen them in action. We know the stock that they bring and the value that they can bring towards any organization. We can also guide them in ways that they would like to, if they want to go into a particular career path. For instance, DRC Giselle. If I was interested in facilities management or pursuing my IFMA designation, I would definitely knock on Giselle's door, send her a WhatsApp message, because that is within my network as a Rotaract. Even if I did not know her, I would be able to reach out to Giselle and have that guidance and that mentorship from there. As an interactor, if I was someone who was looking to pursue law, because I'm passionate about the law and I want to specialize in a particular area of the law, I can speak to any of the Rotarians that I know who practice law, and they can guide me accordingly. So you can see where the wealth of knowledge can come out and be shared, and the co-mentorship opportunities are there in professional development. So I'll pass on now to Soraya.
Thank you, DRR Mario. So looking at Interact and mentorship, my comments will take us a little deeper into mentoring, simply because of the age group that we are dealing with. So it has been proven several times over that organizations that embrace mentoring, formally or informally, are rewarded with higher levels of engagement and greater retention. And Rotary certainly follows this. And I want to start off by encouraging all club presidents and youth advisors present here to take the Mentoring Basics and Certification course, which is available on the Learning Center. This course speaks to all the requisite areas of mentoring. As you can imagine, it will be a good close to this mentoring event, right? So mentoring defined is about helping a person to make significant and lasting progress in their personal development, professional and otherwise, by exploring their skills, their motivation and goals. But a key component to mentoring is the time commitment and the need to invest in the relationship. So as a mentor, availability is critical, and we must invest the time. As mentors, we are role models. And so at all times, we should be a model for professionalism and ethical behavior. So great mentor-mentee relationships are predicated on truth, trust, and honesty. And in terms of communication, both the mentor and mentee must realize and respect each other's differences in perspectives and truths. So for all potential mentees present, and I do believe that we have a whole lot of interactors and Rotaractors on this call, a good mentee is motivated to succeed, demonstrates a positive attitude, has a desire to learn, to develop, and is receptive to constructive feedback. This slide focuses on mentorship opportunities. And you will have noticed that you would have noticed by now that this slide mirrors the expectations of Rotaract. Deliberately so, as we believe the areas remain relevant, while the level of exposure may be subtly different given the age differences. But the opportunities as listed are self-explanatory, and they've been expanded by DRR Mario. And so we encourage advisors to utilize these suggestions to develop relationships and partnerships with the Interact clubs to ensure that we have progressive and successful Interact clubs within District 7030. I want to reiterate that the Rotarian advisor plays a major role in mentoring the youth leaders of an Interact club. As advisors and mentors, we are hoping that you will mentor Interact leaders as they gain experience governing a service club and develop their leadership skills. Guide them as they plan their projects. Inspire members during challenging times. Develop strategies to transition to Rotaract. Support their innovation. Assist them with Interact membership recruitment. Impart our Rotary knowledge and values. And I pause here to highlight the need to share and discuss our four-way test, our moral compass and ethics guide. The safety of our young members is always our top priority, so ensure that Rotary policies on youth protection are strictly followed. We hope that as mentors, you share best practices for club management, ensuring proper and timely handovers occur. Ensure that Rotary clubs provide contact information to Rotary every year as required. As mentors, we hope that you promote Interact to Rotarians, school leaders, community members, that you coordinate leadership training for Interact officers. And through our vocational service, you lend support to their professional development. It's an inexhaustive list of opportunities, and I truly hope that this has been helpful to all advisors here this evening. I want to end my presentation with a quote from British statesman Benjamin Disraeli. The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own. And with that, I hand back to the Rotaract team. Thank you.
Thanks, Soraya. You're not done, eh? Although Soraya was just like fantastic. We still have 3 more slides. Okay, great. So just tying it all together, because of course we must talk about our parents, right? Rotarians. So we've done Rotary, Rotaract, we've done Rotary Interact. But a very obvious, right? One of my directors always likes to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room that nobody quite sees, is the opportunities between Rotaract and Interact, right? So just kicking that off, as we mentioned before, with Rotary, that there was that opportunity for knowledge sharing between Rotary and Rotaract, and of course Rotary and Interact. But the same is true for Rotaract and Interact, simply because you have that sort of narrower age gap, I would say, and also the transition, right? So you have, sorry, Mario, I mentioned your word, that's Mario's slide. Anyway, so we also have the opportunity for our interactors to, of course, become Rotaractors. And what we can also do too is through our Rotaract Liaison Officer. That was something created a few years ago, where a Rotaractor from the Rotaract Club, once your sponsor club had an Interact Club, that we felt the need to get closer to the Interact. Because I would tell you, back in my day as a Rotaractor, it always felt like Interact was a Rotary thing and kind of left it there. So there were a lot of opportunities missed, right? But thankfully, we've learned. And so we know that we need to be, as Rotaractors, need to be more hands-on with Interact, because there are all these opportunities we're speaking about. So the sharing of what a Rotaract club does, what a Rotaractor does, just that, as they say, on-the-job training, so to speak, being able to be there in meetings as far as possible, or events at least, that is priceless. And it also sells Rotaract to the interactors. So once again, we get that opportunity of not losing everyone. So Mary, I'm going to stop talking about your slides so you can go ahead.
Giselle, you want to change your front slide, please?
Oh, most definitely.
Thank you. All right, so continuing on, there is a lot of room for succession planning with Rotaract and Interact working together hand in hand. And as Giselle alluded to earlier, the transitioning of interactors into Rotaractors. Now, we already have this prime garden ready to go and the seeds are planted in the seedlings. It makes sense to transplant them from one side into the next, keeping that service mentality going hand in hand and having a wealth in that Rotaract club. So we want to keep that moving, utilizing the Rotaract Interact Liaison Officer. We want to have them attend Interact meetings. We want to have them listen, actively listen to interactors, help them with troubleshooting any problems they may have, and get them inspired about becoming a Rotaractor and joining Rotaract after their time in Interact comes to an end. We want to also encourage the interactors any way we can. We can impart simple knowledge because, as Giselle alluded to as well, we are of a closer age gap to them than the Rotarians do. They may have something as simple as planning their career path or their school path. That's something we can help with by putting on something as simple as a Rotaract career fair, helping guide interactors into the future. Again, we also need to listen to them. So I also implore all Rotaractors on the call, all Rotaract liaison officers, if you can, listen as actively as possible to interactors. It's not always that we have to come and talk to them or talk with them, but listening to them is one of the key factors that we can do as Rotaractors to help them along this mentorship journey. I'm going to touch a little bit on Soraya's point because it's something I'm very passionate about as well. Rotaractors and Rotarians work very well hand in hand on joint committees. The same thing can be done with interactors. Do not just see them as labor, see them for the perspective they can bring, the knowledge they can bring, things that they can do to make whatever you're putting on easier. I'm sure, especially in this digital age, there's something, some app the interactor uses that we can use to make online meetings more fun, more interactive. So listen to them, join up with them, and have fun with them. Soraya, over to you.
Thank you, Tiara Mario. I think we are at our success story stage. I don't see a slide change. So I'll continue while you change the slide. Thank you. We wanted to end this evening showcasing two success stories, one from Interact and one from Rotaract. We consider that these stories should be highlighted because of the shared passion, dedication, and commitment demonstrated by the initiators. A school advisor in the case of Interact, and a Rotarian past president in the case of Rotaract. I will introduce them briefly, but will let them tell their story, and then you be the judge. So we will start off with our school advisor. Jessima Cooper is a highly qualified educator with qualifications in linguistics and more specifically the teaching of French as a foreign language. She's a certified DELF examiner and currently holds the position of class mistress, dean of discipline of Form 2, and head of modern language at the St. Joseph's Convent Secondary School, and the lead teacher advisor for the Interact Club of SJC in St. Lucia. Ms. Cooper spearheaded the Interact Club from its inception in 2012. The club was introduced to SJC at a time when the school sought to remedy a growing problem of students not being engaged in extracurricular activities. And Club Friday, which was introduced, saw all students engaged in a club of their choice, with some 20 clubs offered, which included the Interact Club. I will let Jessima tell the story from here. Jessima, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. As Ms. Gustave introduced me, my name is Jessima Cooper, and I am the teacher advisor of the Interact Club at St. Joseph's Convent in St. Lucia. The club was introduced, as Ms. Gustave indicated, that at the time when we had that problem, and we realized that our students coming from one of the, I could say, top secondary schools, and people thought us as being just academic. So we sought to remedy that problem because of the fact that our students graduated, yes, with excellent grades. However, academics, we realize, is not adequate. And in our presently, and in our world, we have to realize that it is not just the certification, but we're looking at the totality, which is education. And part of education is having all the extracurricular activities of developing leadership and developing well-rounded women who will release into society and who will determine our future. So having said that and having tried to remedy that problem, the Interact Club started. And honestly, I didn't want to be in this in the club, not in the club per se, but I did not want to have a role because as a teacher, you wear many hats. And so my vice principal encouraged me, and then I said, okay, well, I will take it on. And we started off with only 25 students who really and truly chose the club not knowing what they were getting themselves into. And they chose the club because they were the ones left over, and they didn't know, out of the 20 clubs, they were not interested in any of the clubs. But by the time we started, and the club has grown and grown to the extent that it was heavily subscribed, and we got something like 200 new members at one point in time. And we had to find a way to cut back. So we started picking at random, and of course, having them do some sort of interview as to what the club was about and why did they want to join the club. And they kept on coming and coming. So our club grew, and it was amazing how the young ladies took on the club and took on many activities. But the first thing that really encouraged the students to join the club was the fact that it gave them exposure to a lot of opportunities. It gave them exposure to situations that otherwise they would not have found themselves. For example, many of our students don't, sad to say, they don't know our island. And the first activity was tree planting on the south coast of St. Lucia. And many of them had not been to that area, far less know what it was about. And when they got there, they really were fascinated. And being out in the so-called wilderness, wading in the river, it gave them that exposure, and it gave them an understanding of caring for the environment. Okay, and they came back to school and they spoke about the experience, and of course that encouraged more members to come in. At SJC, we pride ourselves on trying to be part of our community, and every year we have activities that engage community service activities. And so I think that's one of the reasons why this club thrived, because we do have the support of the administration and the ethos of the school. Okay, so with all those students, they now had the opportunity to do community service, and that community service was based on the fact that they are now able to see they were put in situations where they did not know existed. For example, when you look at poverty, we went to visit home visits, and it really picked their, well, I guess it touched them. Some of the situations touched them. So that again encouraged the students to want to be part of the Interact Club. Okay. One of the things they always do is they always have fun, especially some of the activities that they do. So whilst they're doing service projects, they have fun doing it. And with young people, it must always be appealing to them. Okay. So an Interact Club, what is that? I, as a teacher advisor, do is always encourage them to see how the activity will benefit them. So in that way, they know that they're doing it and they're seeing the benefits of being a member of the Interact Club at SGC. We have done many activities and we have partnered with other clubs. Some of our activities include soup kitchens. Every year we have at least 2 soup kitchens. We have visits to homes. We've had book drives. We've had fundraising activities. And what really impresses me with these young girls is they do have the managerial skills, event planning skills, and the Interact Club gives them that opportunity to use those skills in developing successful activities and a successful club. And so students who see, the other students who see what the club does at the school and the wider community are now drawn and into the club and want to be part of the club. Okay. One thing we encourage them to do is to be committed. And as a teacher advisor, I think I was listening to Ms. Gustave and speaking about inspiring, guiding them, right? And really encouraging them to mentor them, protect them. And as a teacher advisor, they can always count on we are the advisors being there. So the executive, the members of the club, whenever they organize an activity, whenever there's an activity to be had, we are always there present. And we're not just present in just being a supervisor, but we actually participate in the activity. So then they see that you now are part of the activity. So that gives them that encouragement, and that gives them, they are encouraged to be, to continue the activity and to engage in other activities that engenders that sense of service and maintaining the theme, which is service above self. So here, the students do a lot of the activities and they plan a lot of the activities on their own, but they seek the guidance, they seek my guidance, and this is one of the things that they always say, that Ms. Cooper is always there. In more often than not, we need to dialogue with the young people and not have a lecture. So any activity we do, how do I get them to participate in the activities, to dialogue with them, see what they think, and I encourage them, I guide them, I guide their thoughts, I guide their thinking, and I reason with them. So in the end, they come to do the activity, they are part of the activity because they want to do it and not because it's something that they do so that they could put on their resume at the end of the 5 years at SGC. Here at the many students who have been part of the Interact, we pride ourselves on holding them to a very high standard. And hence, by the time the third year of the Interact group, when they had completed their high school at SGC, they went on to Arthur Community College, and then they began an Interact club at Sir Arthur Community College. And so the club is prized on being in existence up to the present, and they started the club. So they were so inspired by all that we had done at SGC, so they went over to Sir Arthur and opened the club there as well. Okay. Yeah. Many of our interactors have gone on to other institutions, and they have used the activities that they've participated in and the service as part of the resume. And many times I've had to do write-ups for this to attend colleges and universities in the US and in Canada. So once the students recognize the benefits of being in the Interact Club, this is one of the things that draws and attracts them. Okay. At this point in time, if there are any questions or any comments, that just sums about it.
Thank you very much, Jessima. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us here this evening and actually sharing that story. I don't necessarily want to prompt, but I need to ask about the sponsor club, because if you could just speak to the relationship with the sponsor club, just briefly.
Okay. Our sponsor club is the Rotary Club of St. Lucia, and they have been with us and mentoring us and been extremely supportive, I should say, from the inception of the club when it started in 2012. And it is through that commitment from our sponsor club that the students too saw that, and they know that knowing that they had that support, that it really encouraged them to take on the challenges of the activities that they have to do, because sometimes it does pose a challenge to them. Okay. And they have sponsored, our club has sponsored us from the inception, and every year, whenever we have our induction ceremony, we get the support and we get for all the activities. So they introduced us to the tree planting activities, and the relationship has been such that up to this, at present, we now have our sponsor club. And I remember Miss Gustave making that commitment to seeing that the Interact clubs really get the attention and support. And it is right now, this is one of she's still sticking to her promise that this is what her focus would be. And it's still continuing today. And I really appreciate that, Miss Gustave. And so I think with that kind of support and this activity here tonight, that not only will the Interact Club at St. Joseph's Convent will continue to thrive, but I think more clubs in the other secondary schools can be opened, so to expose the young people of all the wonderful opportunities that the Interact Club provides.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Giselle. We have one question coming from President Janelle out of St. Vincent. The question is, how did you become the point of contact or the teacher assigned? Were you previously associated with Rotary? Well, the answer to the second question is no, but how did you become the point of contact?
Well, as I said, we started by introducing Club Fridays at our school because of that growing need for students to be part of extracurricular activities. And so the Interact Club, we reached out to Rotary Club. To be honest, I think that was done through administration. That was done through our principal, who reached out to the Interact Club, not Interact Club, the Rotary Club. And it was then the Rotarian came to introduce the club to our school. And as I said, it only started with 25 members who had no clue as to what it is that they were getting themselves into, and they had no idea, they had nowhere to go. So they just tell them, okay, you can't make up your mind, you join the Interact Club. And that's how it started. And that's how I became, because you always need a teacher facilitator for all the clubs. And I was asked to be a facilitator, but trust me, I didn't want to, because I thought it was extra work as a teacher. And I was kind of forced to, because I didn't have a choice. And that is how I became the point of contact. And I've never looked back, and I have enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciated, Giselle. And we look forward to hearing from you again, because you know that's just the beginning. But thank you, and I hope our participants enjoyed listening to your story. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Our second speaker, President Dina, is a former educator who served in the teaching profession for 36 years. She was the principal of St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, and responsible for the school joining the Interact Club, which is still active today. President Dina took early retirement in 2013 and is now fully retired, having served the RC Church in Trinidad during the years 2014 to 2019. Dina joined the Rotary Club of San Fernando in 2016. She served as secretary for 2 years. She is the immediate past president and presently serving as youth service chair. Under her tenure as president, she was able to revive an almost non-existent Rotaract Club of San Fernando. And I'm going to stop here because that's part of her story. President Dina, can I invite you to speak?
Thank you so much, District Chair Soraya, and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. You know, I just want to step back a little bit and to really tell Ms. Cooper, she took me down memory lane and I wished I was in school again. And, you know, I can't help but say this, what a legacy the Sisters of St. Joseph's Convent have left in the Caribbean. And, you know, President Shekhar talked about empowering girls. We have been doing that since 1836 in Trinidad. And at St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, we've been doing it since 1882. So nothing new and everything, and you know, it's so heartwarming to hear more of what St. Joseph's Convent St. Lucia is doing, because it's exactly what all the St. Joseph's Convent do, because there's nothing different that she said that was not happening at my school. So I'm really heartened to hear that. And a lot of the values and the skills that the girls learn is exactly what we need in Rotary, in Interact, and in Rotaract. Before I step into Rotaract, I need to say that it's because of the transitioning of the interactors into Rotaractors that have made this story, successful. What worked for me was the pandemic, I guess, because I was more in touch with the girls and the young men. I have to remember that I have 2 male schools under our sponsorship, and being able to relate to them via WhatsApp, Zoom meetings, that really worked. Because when I joined the Rotary Club of San Fernando, when I came in, we would make a visit when the elections are held and when we had to pin them. And then we will go back again in the next month, in the next term or quarterly. And I found that the interaction was not what it should be if we really wanted to really instill that kind of passion in them for Interact and for them to move on to Rotaract. So that media, the Zoom and WhatsApp really worked for us. So presently, I'm Youth Service Chair, and I've seen the Rotaract Club of San Fernando grow from 9 inducted members in January this year to 20. I think we inducted some in June, 11 more, and we have 22 waiting on the wings to be inducted, and that's most likely will take place next month. And of those 41 interactors, 25 of them, just over 60%, were interactors. So it's great when they come in because they know what to expect. They know everything about Rotary then. So that part of it, it's easy to work with. And now they've matured a bit, they're young adults. So presently, our interactors, most of them are university students. A wide diversity, I should say, in terms of career paths. We have 1 resident doctor in the club, and yes, so a lot of what I did in terms of mentoring the young people in the Rotaract Club, I think everybody here spoke about it, but I'll still repeat it. The important thing was, as interactors, I developed a good relationship with them. I was always present for them. I encouraged them, ask questions. So it's the same skill that I use with the Rotaract Club of San Fernando. So if they wanted to find out something, I would ask questions, and then when they answer me, I'll ask another question. And what that does, that type of question technique, what it does, it develops their critical thinking skills, and it allows them to dig deeper. And if they didn't understand, or they couldn't come to the proper answer, they would go and research it. But I would not give them the answer, but I will guide them where to find it. I was always encouraging, always encouraging. I love children, I love young people, and I think that is a gift that I have, and that has truly made it successful for me. I would tell them, maybe you can look at it this way, if they encounter a problem, or why don't you try this way or this method. I would, when we have to arrange celebrations, whatever it may be. In fact, right now I'm preparing something on introduction to public speaking, because I find that a lot of our young people coming out of school don't know how to stage their presence when they are going to give a presentation. And well, not only young people, I see it in Rotary clubs as well. Their diction, how they engage the audience. So I'm trying to do this because this is going to be very helpful for them later on. And those are the kind of introductions I will make. I will source the person for them and let them go ahead and make the contact, so that next month we are celebrating community and economic development, I think it is. And so I have sourced someone for them because at their level, because this Rotaract Club, their age group is from 20 to 25. So they may not be able to source somebody readily. So I will make the contact and then I pass it on to them and allow them to start the communication and the planning and so on. And of course, I will be the guide on the side. You always have to show emotional support for them because you never know what, it's not only in Rotaract they're doing, they're studying, they have their home issues, their young people issues. So you always have to be there, show emotional support, okay? And never be be judgmental, you know, always be encouraging. And so that I also tell them stories, you know, like if and I did this with some of the interactors, if something is going on with them and I can share a story because with my kind of experience, I would have witnessed some of the things that they're going through, and I can tell them stories that came out successful, you know. We have to listen to them, not hear, but we have to actively listen to the young people. We always have to make ourselves available. I remember when I joined Rotary, I was told, you know, this is volunteer, but volunteering in Rotary is work. And people need to realize that, you know, I'm always available to them. They can tell you that, Interact and Rotaract. Text and answering within half an hour, sometimes within 5 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. Otherwise, there'll be no room for success. Sometimes you need an answer right away, and you know, you have to be there for them. If you're going to mold young people to take over, we have to set the correct example. You know, we have to role model, and we have to enable their growth. We have to engage in conversations, and I think District Chair Giselle mentioned this, that everyone value diversity of perspective, so they need to know how to listen to each other and agree to disagree. And we also have to be very honest and straightforward. We need to give constructive feedback, and all these are skills that as educators we have to engage in when we are, you know, communicating with our young people. So what I want to wrap up by saying is that in a lot of the schools, our 5 sponsored schools, a lot of the skills that they are learning now, it's already there in their school. They're doing activities to build those skills. And so I just want to tell you how I got involved with Interact. I was the principal at the time, and the Rotary Club of San Fernando had approached my school to form this Interact Club. Now I heard about Rotary, very nebulous, and I went and I researched what Interact was. And I realized that this was an avenue that could certainly be useful for the girls. And we had already had a life skill program in the school, and we had something called projects, and where skills, things like community service, creativity, leadership, team skills, problem solving, all those were part of the curriculum, and they were graded on it. So the Interact Club just enhanced this. And the success of, and not only at St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, I can vouch for at least, in fact, all of the schools, they have programs where these skills are developed. So Interact really, you know, it's icing on the cake. And I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm passionate about it. And I think we are heading somewhere that I can't help but wonder where. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Past President Dina. Thank you, Justima, for sharing these stories. I do believe that these success stories were worthy of being shared this evening. It's not an easy feat to have a pipeline and a waiting list of members And both of these, both in the Interact Club of St. Joseph's Convent and the Rotaract Club of San Fernando, you literally have a pipeline of members waiting to participate. And this could only be as a result of the dedication, the commitment of the individual advisors and the sponsor clubs. Thank you very much. I think I can thank you very much, and I can hand back over to DRC Giselle at this point. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much, Soraya. That was really, I think it makes sense to put this theory into practice. And that's really what we heard over the last few minutes, you know, how we could actually make the recommendations work. So we are now at the end of our session. We do still have, this is me assuming, a few minutes for anyone who'd like to ask any questions of anyone here today in the audience. We do have other members, the other members of our committees. So if anyone would like to ask a question, now is a great time. And yes, we do appreciate the accolades being given, sure.
I'd also like to implore anyone here who has any success stories as well, if they can share them very succinctly, because that's how we grow, we get inspiration from each other as well.
Absolutely.
If you want to unmute to share your story, just raise your hand using the reaction tool, and we can unmute you. Okay, so Luana.
Right.
Hi, Luana, go ahead.
All right. So following up on the liaison, the role of the liaison, I was wondering if there is a checklist of requirements, virtues, call it what you may, to ensure that there's a right fit between the liaison and the interactors. This question, I guess, would be for Soraya. And if there isn't one, do you think it would be beneficial for the district to develop a checklist just to make sure that that fusion is there? You know, I mean, relationships are important, blending is important. So I was just wondering on what basis are liaisons selected and how involved are sponsor clubs in the selection of a liaison? Is it just we go with who the school recommends, or we have a say? And the second part of that question is, to what extent are liaisons exposed to Rotary's policies and procedures, given that they are the first point of contact between Interact and the, before we get to the sponsor club?
So in answer to your first question, there isn't a checklist. The school liaisons are appointed by the schools directly. And so, yes, it may very well be useful for the district to implement or introduce some sort of a checklist that we can use in conversations with the school or even with the liaison once they have been introduced as the liaison officer. Your second question, if you could just repeat your second question, Luana.
So, to what extent are the liaisons exposed to Rotary's policies and procedures, given they're the first point of contact? Is there training for them by the sponsor clubs?
There's heavy reliance on the sponsor clubs to train the school liaisons, right? In fact, we can go further now and actually say that the school liaison officers can actually register, have a My Rotary account, and have access to the Learning Center, right? A lot of the courses that are being, in fact, we do have some courses on the Learning Center right now that are specific to youth service, and the liaison officers can have access to that. But that has to be driven by the sponsor club, the presidents, who need to first be aware that these resources are available and then make that commitment to ensure that the liaison officer is adequately informed about Rotary. right? So that you can have that sort of sort of training being transferred then to our interactors in the absence of a Rotarian.
Wonderful. I'm learning because I actually didn't know that there was training for the liaison, but that makes sense, right? Because it's a way, I guess, to do our checks and balances. We do have 2 other questions lined up. IPP Dinner.
Thanks, Giselle. I wanted to say that too. It is very important that the Youth Service Chair establishes a good contact with the teachers or the advisors in the school. That worked very well when talking about Interact. Once you have a relationship with that teacher, you're going to, reach places with them. In terms of the checklist, you can advise a principal, but most principals know their staff and they would know who they would assign to this club. And I can only speak for myself. When I was at school, I knew exactly who I was going to put in charge of that. And she's still there. And she has been very, very supportive. She was at my side, actually, when we started the debate among the 5 secondary schools last year. So most principals know who they're going to put. But the checklist will be a guide, certainly.
Thanks very much for that. We also have, well, who I am going to refer to as our trainer guru. Liz herself is here with us and she has a question. Liz, you can go ahead. You can unmute. I think we need the powers that be to help us unmute you. Right, wonderful.
Great, thanks. Thanks. Great presentation, but it's kind of a follow-up to what District Trainer Luana mentioned, and I'm asking specifically as it relates to the mentorship, because I can just give you an example of trying to do a mentorship program in another club, and one of the senior Rotarians is telling me, I said, listen, this thing has to have a structure. And he's telling me, Liz, when we have an event, one of the Rotaractors can come just sit beside him and I can do the mentoring there. So my question to you is, do you have some framework set up to share with youth development officers as to a structure for mentoring? Because mentoring, I was a mentor through the Commonwealth Youth Program, and I can share that information with you. It is a very detailed structure. You may not necessarily need all of what they have there, but is matching the mentees, setting the venue, setting up the time schedule. It's something that to me guides and will give a structure to mentorship, because all of what you have listed there in terms of what is needed to develop a Rotaract or Interactor, I believe if it is done in a structured way, it is done. I know it is done, but I think a little bit more structure needs to be added to that. So I can share what I have, because I still have the information in terms of matching the mentor, setting up the schedule, understanding that this is a two-way, and you did mention that. It's a two-way learning. It's not just one-sided. It's both parties, setting limits, parameters, and a schedule to meet, and also reporting back on the impact, reviewing over a period of time what has happened and how it has impacted that individual. So that's, just an observation and a suggestion, I would say.
Thanks very much for that. I would say off the top of my head, and DR Mario, certainly feel free to jump in, that we don't have, I would say, a structured, say, mentorship program in place for District 7030. But we do know that clubs, as you mentioned, when you gave an example, that they may choose to do that with between their respective clubs. I think while there's certainly value in that sort of thing, of course, we want to be able to measure, we want to be able to ensure that we actually getting value out of this thing, was to also put on the table that there are other things, very readily available things that can be put in place right now that could help, in terms of sharing that those benefits, right? Without it being this program, so to speak, that our Rotaractors, Interact, whomever need to go through. So to me, there is value in both sort of structures where you have the, you know, the sort of, almost want to say the certification side of it, you know, go through this few months together. I mean, I've been in mentorship programs from, you know, in a university, in secondary school, you know, you go and you learn and you grow. But for us to, in amongst the Rotary family, there's a readily available opportunity for us to just share the knowledge in a very real, in a very impactful way. And as we said, mutually beneficial, most importantly, right? Just realizing that all sides bring value to what we do, right?
And I do agree, DRC Giselle. We don't have a structured program per se. However, a program could be looked at. There could be potential benefits or immense benefits in it, I foresee. However, with that being said, with the current setup of how we are integrated as one Rotary district through Club Runner, it's a lot easier for persons to individually find or tap a mentor, so to speak, based on their classifications using Club Runner. We found that success has been had with Rotaractors primarily seeking out their own type of mentors based on their classifications and their own personal relationships or what they've heard, because as we know, we always talk about the great things that this person has done or they've seen this person do and the relationship they've had. So we can look into doing a more formalized mentorship program, and we can try to experiment with that with the Interact side because they may need it more so. But for Rotaract, I would say that with everyone having access to Club Runner and the ability to search classifications, it may be easier having them take it at their own pace.
As you were speaking to Mario, I just remembered Rotary Works. There was another presentation just earlier today at 1 p.m. Yes, they've also, and it's for our zone, right? So they've also established this really cool program where they are doing exactly that, matching. Well, they said Rotaractors, but it could be Interactors, matching young persons within our Rotary family to existing expertise in our Rotarians. So that too is another thing that we could tap into as well. But thanks, Liz, and definitely feel free to share the information. We do have another very brave hand up, Jared Mendez. Feel free to ask your question. I see you're unmuted already.
Yes, thank you so much. In listening to the presentation, I can't remember who was speaking at the time, but somebody mentioned that there was Rotary had formal mentoring training. And I was wondering if someone could share access or how I could access that, or just go to the Rotary website. Because one of the things our club is interested in doing is a mentorship program. It's on our agenda for this year for both Rotaractors and Interactors. And, you know, the training will help. People are very constrained with time and etc., as you would expect. Busy people join Rotary, but at the end of the day, mentorship is very important. So I don't know if anybody could share any points, information on that with me.
Yes, I can add. I can actually say that there's the mentoring basics course on the Learning Center, Gerard. So if you are able to get on to My Rotary, then you simply need to link up with the Rotary Learning Center and access the course.
Okay, I'm writing quickly. Rotary Learning Center.
Rotary Learning Center, sorry. Let me see if I can get the link. I will put it in.
Just get onto My Rotary and type in Rotary Learning Center and I'll get access to the course.
Correct, yes.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks a lot, Soraya. And I see we have another person, Junior Rowley. You can unmute, and I hope you can.
You skipped Luana.
Why can't we change the screen?
Pleasant good evening, Rotarian Giselle. I'd like to ask whether it's possible for you to send me a copy of your recording. Unfortunately, I came into the meeting pretty late because of a prior engagement, but I found the presentations very interesting that I've heard. So I'd be extremely happy if I could get a copy of your full presentation for the evening. I'm the club administrator, the Arima Rotary Club.
Yes, I'm saying yes for Luana. That it will be a yes. But Luana, I know that you guys will definitely organize for everyone to get a recording.
It will be on the district's website within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Yes,
No
keep
problem.
checking.
And well, Luana, the floor is yours.
So you should ask my question now?
So most definitely.
All right, so I believe structure is important, especially in organizations such as Rotary, because it presents us with a baseline from which we could start. Having said that, and we know that Interact clubs have to do fundraising to do their projects. My question is, who keeps the money, given that they cannot open a bank account? I ask this question from a position of experience. I'm asking clubs, what do they do? Some tell me the headmaster keeps it. Some tells me the treasurer keeps it. Others have told me the liaison officer keep it. What is the district's position on where this money should be kept? And should we leave it up to the clubs to decide?
So that's not Rotaract. So I'm waiting on I think Jessima wants to take it. Oh, sorry, DG. Go ahead. Sorry.
Jessima has raised her hand. Maybe she might give an indication as to what she does at SJC. So let me hear what she has to say first. Jessima?
I think she needs to be unmuted.
Jessima was unmuted, but I think, can we hear from the DG first?
Yes, I think
Okay.
that'd be most appropriate. Oh,
Yeah. Well, that's a very important question, and I think it's important. What we do at SJC, we have this school cooperative, and all clubs have an account there. So all monies are accounted for, and any fundraising done is put into the account. And there's another teacher advisor, and she, any funds needed for any activity, okay, a record is kept, and she's the one who basically acts as the accountant. But the funds go into an account. So, well, a policy at our school is no club should have funds, or even the Interact executive, the treasurer, must turn over the funds to the advisor, who in turn places it in the school co-op account, and there it's accounted for by the vice principal.
okay, thank you very much, Jessima. I know DG Sonia wanted to share some words of wisdom as well.
Okay.
I was just going to say that it's really, the interactors should not hold the money at any point. It really should be in the school's account, or in some cases where it's hard to access funds in some school accounts, maybe the Rotary Club would hold it in trust for their Interact Club, but not in the hands of the interactors, because they come and go. They're so transient. It's probably best in the school or in the Rotary Club's account, separately accounted for that way.
Yeah. And so just to add, Luana, there isn't any rule governing the handling of finances for interactors. If you were to read the Interact Guide, the only reference there is around the fact that sponsor clubs, Rotary advisors, need to pay close attention to the club finances of an Interact club. But on the basis that the majority of our clubs are school-based clubs, you will find that there's probably a difference in terms of how each school handles the monies from the club. But I would imagine that similar to what Jessima spoke of, that is exactly what's happening at most of the school clubs, right? That the schools actually take control of the finances of their individual clubs. It's probably a very different situation with our community-based clubs who work much closer with the sponsor clubs. And I can imagine in that sort of scenario, the sponsor club or the Rotary Club takes overall management of the club's, of the Interact Club's finances.
Thanks very much for that, Soraya. I see dinner, IPP dinner.
I just wanted to say that, you know, we have to tread carefully with schools because the principal is in charge of his or her school. And I am almost certain that most schools have something in place for the submission of funds. I can tell you personally, when I was there, we had a ledger that all funds raised were put into were recorded by the clerk 3. The amount was put in and the date and the signature of the teacher. Any monies coming out, same thing, the amount and the signature. So it's always accounted for. But as I say, you have to be careful because, you know, I'm almost certain that most schools, if not all, have something in place for accessing funds. And in terms of the Rotaract, yes, certainly the Rotary clubs can manage their money because I can give you an example with our club. The Rotaract Club cannot open an account right now because there's a certain amount of things that they have to do. They have to apply to be NGO and, you know, all the different things that the bank wants. So in the interim, our club will be responsible for holding the funds. But in terms of a school, you'll have to be careful.
Fantastic. I mean, it makes sense in terms of what you guys would have shared on it, just in terms of, yes, I guess it boils down to the, you know, the organization you're with in terms of how the school gels and stuff, but it does make sense that whoever is seen as that authority, so to speak, manages the funds and hopefully allows for easy access for the Interact Club to get their funds, because I'm guessing that's a whole other conversation. At this time, I don't see any other. Oh yeah, look at you all waiting. Okay, so we do have 2 more questions. Yes, Rick, can you, let me see if you can unmute. Go ahead and try to unmute.
Yes,
yes.
my connection is somewhat bad, but that's why I do not have the video on. Good evening all, thank you for this opportunity. I just want to share something about the finance of the Interact Club of my Rotary Club, let's put it that way. What we've done, we have opened an account because the interactors are minors by law in Suriname. And we opened an account for them with the bank. And the treasurer of the Rotary Club is responsible for that account. And the treasurer of the Interact Club, if they need some funds or to disperse money, for example, for a project and so on, they have to state that. And we give them monthly statements by email. What the account status is in different currencies, because we have US dollars and Surinamese dollars account for them. And that's the way it works, because they're minors by law. And we as a Rotary Club, the advisors, every board member, for example, the treasurer of the Interact Club has an advisor with a financial background, a Rotarian. And together we look at, there's like I would say, like in banking, we call it a 4 eyes principle or a 6 eyes principle, where we check everything, the how do you say, the bills that have to be paid, for example, or the incoming fees that are coming in. And every quarter they give a report from what the accounts are, what is coming in, and what has gone out. So that's the way we do it with our Interact Club. I just wanted to explain that to you guys if you're not, how do you say that, familiar with that. So thank you for the opportunity.
That's very lovely. It's a really, really good. And you could see from the comments, Rick, that it has resonated with persons here. It's a very cool example of how it can be done. So thank you very much for that. We do have another question from AG Julian, past DRR. I'm just an all-round good person. Julian, the floor is yours. Is he gone?
Well, not another question, but just a comment to add. Sorry, you hearing me, Giselle?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Right. I just wanted to add, similar to Suriname, when I took up as youth service chair in 2016, I met an arrangement with our Interact Club, which is Southwest Tobago, where Rotary, our Rotary Club, Rotary Southwest Tobago, would have similarly set up a bank account. However, the signatories are actually our interactors, president, treasurer, etc. And as Rotary advisor, I'm also a signatory on the account. So we try to encourage and practice that they are directly involved with regards to participating in the process of managing their finances. I mean, granted, it's not any large set of finances they're managing, but still having them involved in the process where the treasurer is responsible with regards to funds collected, putting together the details and that kind of thing. And yes, we have to write to the bank every year, just like Rotary clubs, and make changes with the signatories. As I said, I've been youth service for a while, so I've probably been one of the only consistent ones in terms of the lineup, but we do encourage and have them as a part of the process in terms of our Interact Club. But I know, of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, you'd be aware it has become a little more challenging now, obviously, to open an account. So as I said, I think I was one of those fortunate youth service directors that came after one of our earlier youth service directors, past President Max, who had already, and through our club, with the assistance of Rotarians in the banking sector, had put all those arrangements in place. So the bank account for our Interact Club is set up at the same bank as the Rotary's bank account for projects and admin, etc. So all our accounts are there, but the interactors are directly a part of it. So that's just another angle that I'm adding to the mix, just in terms of information and ideas.
Julian, I think after this, I need to remind our club we need to get an Interact Club because we have all the tools. We're good to go. We have all the best practices. No, it's really very interesting hearing all the different ways in which we could make this work. So at this time, guys, because we've been on for almost 2 hours, I don't know if you felt it, but it really has been wonderful. And I just want to say thank you. Of course, on behalf of the Rotaract and Interact committees here today, to our training committee for, first of all, recognizing the need for this topic, because we saw that from our 200+ attendees that persons are interested in hearing ways in which we could really improve that Rotary Interact relationship. And so we thank you for the opportunity. We thank everyone, of course, for being here with us, for the tremendous feedback and interaction and ideas. And I mean, you can't ask for anything better other than an interactive audience on a Zoom platform. You know, that is really priceless. And so we are very grateful, especially to our two speakers who are here with us, Jessima and Dina. For me, that was really the highlight of our presentation, and because it's always great to hear things working, right? So these success stories, as well as the others we got, were really phenomenal in tying it all together. So at this time, I do hand you back to District Trainer Luana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giselle, and thank you to all the trainers. I think what stood out tonight is that the relationships that we form between Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact is very important. And the level of commitment of sponsor clubs can never be overstated. And it just makes the transition easier. And mentoring is not a role to be taken lightly, especially given the world we live in today and the challenges that young people face. I think Rotarians can make a real difference through a mentorship program to touch not one, but hopefully many lives. So, you know, let's hope the sponsor clubs will step up their game and make this whole relationship stronger between the Rotaract families. I'd like to ask Rotarian Cheryl to deliver her short and sweet vote of thanks. Rotarian Cheryl, are you there?
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Luana. All protocols observed. Well, what can I say coming after Giselle and Luana? Really, you all have said it all. But I really need to say to Giselle, Soraya, and Mario, excellent presentation. Thank you very much. It was detailed, it was interesting, it was informative. I'm very certain that the information that you all have distilled for us, and you actually showed us the synergies that exist among Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact to be able to expand Rotary's reach, because it is very, very important from one level to the next to have that transition. And you all did it so perfectly. So thanks again for that as well. The testimonies from just Decima and IPP dinner, that was a lovely touch. It brought everything home and it tied it all together in a lovely little package. So we really appreciate what you all have done for us here this evening. I'm sure the 200 plus participants, I was checking as well, went away with some learning. I certainly did, because there were some things that I really didn't know. So thank you very much for that. Luana, you and your training team continue to really do a great job. So thank you for that. And thank you to all the technical and logistical support in the background, as usual. It was a great job all around. And to you, the audience, thank you for your participation. It was a really enjoyable evening. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, PP Cheryl. DG Sonia, any closing words quickly? I can't see you. Where are you?
It was everything that I expected it would be and more. And I recognize from the comments that everyone felt the same way. Lots of information, lots of takeaways, lots of good suggestions. The synergy, the being in this Rotary family is wonderful. And just the movement from Interact to Rotaract to Rotary should really be something that we strive for everyone. So thank you so much to all who came on, to the presenters. What a wonderful evening. Very inspiring evening for me. Thanks so much.
Thank you, DG Sonia. So that's a wrap. Good night, everyone. Thank you for participating. Please continue to stay safe, and we will start running promos for our next training session. So look out. It's going to be a surprise. Ooh. Thanks and good night.
Night.